It would be silly to underestimate one of the most notorious NBA beefs of the last 10 years. With Lin riding the wave of Linsanity and Kobe coming down off his throne in the twilight years of his career, it's clear to see there's some sort of symbolism that goes along with a beef that deserves to be re-examined in a new decade. So today we take a look at the Kobe-Lin beef in detail. Be sure to subscribe and check out the links in the description for more latest Hoops content. To understand the complexity of this issue, we have to wind the clock back to the history of both these players. It was 2014 and both players worked hard to get to where they were in the NBA. At the time of the famous wave-off incident, Kobe was on his way down and Jeremy was on his way up. However, both have many things in common when it comes to respect for how each other rose up in the game. Bryant didn't always have things his own way, as he wasn't considered a star until he got into the league. Kobe played his very early basketball traveling to and from Italy to play in a basketball summer league. Following his excellent high school career, he still fell to 13th of the overall in the 1996 draft when clearly he should have been a top 5 draft pick.
With the 13th pick in the 1996 NBA draft, the Charlotte Hornets select Kobe Bryant from Lower Merion High School in Pennsylvania.
And yes, this particular draft was stacked with players such as Allen Iverson, Ray Allen, and Steve Nash. But knowing what we know now, Kobe should have at least gone top 3. His underdog mentality led him to be the youngest slam dunk contest champion ever at 18 years of age in 1997. And by 1998, he was a bona fide starter for the Lakers. The rest is history, as we saw Kobe climb to heights most NBA players will never even dream of.
Kobe inside the three-point arc, fades and fires and hits. Kobe Bryant has hit a shot at the buzzer!
A legend of the game, he is gone but not forgotten, with a footprint left on every corner of Lakers basketball floor. As for Jeremy Lin, he was undrafted despite his impressive college career at Harvard. After a sensational effort in the Summer League in 2010, offers came flooding in from numerous NBA teams, including the Lakers. Lin opted for the Warriors, his boyhood team, and following a knee injury in 2011 found himself moved to the Knicks, where he made his name and the infamous Linsanity took shape.
Fans on their feet. 5, 4, Lin for the win! Got it!
Now in terms of basketball legacy, these two are worlds apart, but comparing their rise and consistent underdog mentality in the early years shows signs of why both players came to a head at the Lakers in 2014. Both players were never going to back down from their ideals and what they stood for. At the time, Kobe was the king of LA with 5 NBA championships, and it was very much his team following the departure of Shaq years before. He was the chosen one, bringing the Mamba mentality to all, but when someone got in his way, he'd always try and make sure he ended up on top. Even on Michael Jordan's exit from the league, Kobe felt he had a point to prove and would go hard on the Bulls legend before he retired. The same goes with Kevin Durant. New to the league, he would try and stamp his authority versus seasoned Kobe, and Bryant would have no problem answering the call. Another beef to remember is Shaq and Kobe. The infamous Shaq and Kobe beef has a timeline that stretches over the course of 5 years, beginning with jealousy over shirt sales in 1998 and ending up in a finals loss to the Pistons and a Shaq trade to Miami. These constant battles of beefs molded this winner into the man he was when Lin had arrived, a Lakers leader and record breaker who demanded your attention when he asked for it. The flip side of that coin was a different kind of point guard, Jeremy Lin and the rise of Linsanity, which came into effect at the back end of Kobe's career. In early 2012, Lin had just signed with the New York Knicks, and because of injuries to the team's primary point guard, he was given a shot by then-coach Mike D'Antoni. A victory over the Nets with 25 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds proved he was absolutely ready to make the best of this opportunity. After a brief run which included a couple of much-needed wins without Carmelo Anthony and a game winner against the Toronto Raptors, Lin was proving to be quite a sensation in the league.
Jeremy Lin, are you following that story at all?
No idea. I know who he is, but I don't really know what's going on too much with him.
Are you surprised at the production that Lin's had over the past week?
I don't even know what he's done.
Another standout fixture during Linsanity was a 38-point game against Kobe Bryant and his LA Lakers. Was this the beginning of the beef? Probably not, but it certainly was the moment Kobe sat up and paid attention. Lin ended up in Houston after a falling out of some sort in New York based around controversy over his toughness because of a knee issue, which was incredibly unfair considering the seriousness of injury. Highlights include a 38-point game against the San Antonio Spurs.
Jeremy Lin puts up a three! Jeremy Lin with his 4th three-pointer of the game.
And Lynn got revenge on the team that traded him, beating the Knicks in Madison Square Garden with 22 points and 9 assists. However, the reality of James Harden stepping into the limelight meant Lynn had been relegated to a supporting role which he was never fully comfortable with. When each of these timelines merged, Jeremy Lin moved to the Lakers, where the Mamba mentality was adopted by all who walked through the doors of the Staples Center. Lin recalls Kobe getting a little cold, but giving a silent respect to players he thought were good enough to grace the floor with his presence. At the time, Kobe was in his mid-30s and struggling from numerous injuries. And despite missing many games, Kobe was still selected as a starter for the All-Star game. Regardless of the fact that he publicly didn't feel like he deserved his selection, Kobe was getting the respect from everyone in the league because of his status. Shortly after this, Lin was speaking on his frustration with the fact that Kobe was shooting his team out of the game. And although Kobe was great, Lin felt he was taking too many shots. On a recent interview with All the Smoke podcast, Lin stated,
"At that time, he was coming back from injuries, and then he was also going through some injuries, but he was like, he was like 35-year-old Kobe with a 25-year-old Kobe mind. And so like he had it in him that he wanted to prove to the world, like all the reporters who said he couldn't come back from his Achilles or other injuries, like he had this like intense level of like, I'm going to prove you wrong."
Lin also recalled staying up late after a loss and messaging Kobe back and forth about the new direction they should potentially head towards. Kobe didn't necessarily agree, but he certainly admired the fact that Lin stood up to him and didn't just go along for the ride. Jeremy Lin stated,
"So we'd be texting at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, arguing with each other, conflicting with each other, and it got to the point where I was like, I told him, this is how it started. I said, look, you're Kobe. Like, I'm coming in trying to learn from you, okay? So, like, I'm okay with anything as long as you talk to me like a man. Like, in terms of, like, don't talk down to me like I'm a boy. Talk to me like a man and respect me."
Following their constant back and forth, Lin went on court and did this. With less than 5 minutes on the clock in a much-anticipated 2014 Lakers-Clippers game, Jeremy Lin, instead of offering up the ball, directs Kobe to come set up the pick and leave J.J. Redick on Kobe for a mismatch. Instead, Chris Paul came out to guard Lin, who pulled up from a difficult spot to nail a three-pointer, making a tough play and an even tougher point in the process. Again, in the same interview, Lin summed up why he did it.
"I finally had enough. That's why I waved him off that one time too, because I was like, I've seen, like, I don't want to go down this path again. We got to get something else going. We got to get some ball movement."
In the post-match interview, Kobe mentioned how he loved the intensity and respected the call that Lin made. But Jeremy recently revealed what really followed the famous moment. Apparently, they didn't speak for the last 4 months of the season. Jeremy Lin took it well and got on with his game, and the following season when Lin ended up in Charlotte, he and Kobe eventually buried the beef, and Kobe began contacting him again, giving him tips on how to improve his game.
A four-time All-Star Game MVP, the league's MVP in 2008, a two-time Finals MVP, and a five-time NBA champion with the Los Angeles Lakers, Kobe Bryant!
Kobe would go on to gain another All-Star appearance, making it 18 in total. He would then hit 60 points in his final game for the Lakers, where he outscored the entire Jazz team 23-21 in the fourth quarter, making him the oldest player to hit a 60-point game at 37 years old. It was bittersweet for the fading star as the Lakers finished that season with their worst record in franchise history, but Mamba went out with no regrets.
You guys will always be in my heart, and I sincerely appreciate it. No words can describe how I feel about you guys. And thank you from the bottom of my heart. God, I love you guys. And I love you guys. And what can I say? Mamba out.
Lin went on to have a moderately successful spell at Charlotte, hitting an average of 11.7 points in 26.3 minutes per game, and playing the majority of the season. Charlotte ended up making the playoffs too, but unfortunately were taken out in the first round by the Miami Heat in 7 games. His final NBA year to date was winning a championship as the third-string point guard at the Toronto Raptors in 2019. Despite getting barely any minutes in the playoffs, Lin has revealed what an honor it was to be the first Asian American to ever win a title, a feat he can most certainly be very proud of. There's no doubt that this beef came at a time where both players were at a breaking point in their careers. Lynn feeling he was at the peak of his powers and Kobe aware that he was far past his best, which is why the pressure was so intense for both and why this moment stands out in the face of history. One thing that's certain is that both players ultimately drew respect from each other for not backing down during the bust-up, something that can be learned from any other teammate's beef in the future. Do you think Lynn was right to wave off Kobe? What beef would you like to hear about next?